It's Kara. Welcome back to Green Heart Glowing. I'm going to clear the energy first, and then I'm going to do an energy reading for you. Okay. It's Palo Santo. Okay, let that clear while we're talking. I'm going to pull an angel card to get the energy opened and see what the universe wants us to know for this reading to help guide us. Ooh. Transformation. I feel like I pull this card a lot on this channel, which is perfect. And also, I pull that card for myself every day, every morning too. And I don't get that card nearly as much as I do when I'm making videos. So that's an interesting note. Nature's Whispers card next. I've had these decks for like 10 years now, and I was thinking maybe I should get a new deck to kind of be, I don't know, put some new energy into this new chapter, like intentionally, but there's also something to be said for the connection that you can have like with things that stay with you throughout your life. But I know that card decks come to you when it's time, like when the card deck wants you to find it. So for now, I'm going to stick with these. Seek Beauty, 44. Okay, that card's message is, this is a time to reflect on love and seek out beauty. Create memories. Take time to enjoy your experiences, celebrations, and special occasions. It's literally about to be holiday season. The recollection of happy moments will support you. Look not only in the world around you, but also within. Seek out the loving qualities that you appreciate about yourself. Search for your own beauty. Look at yourself and the world around you from a new perspective. That made me think of right now how like we have gone through daylight savings time here in the US, and we're coming up into darker days ahead, just like the shortening of light. And something that we aren't very good at doing as humans, I would say, is we've kind of lost our rhythm with nature, and we've lost the sacredness of being with each season as the season happens, being connected to the season. So for example, like right now, all the trees are losing their leaves, and I don't know if you know this, not everybody knows this, but it's a really cool fact in case like you don't know. I've told many people this and they had no idea. But the reason that leaves are falling off the tree and dying, like the colors that they come to, like the oranges and the reds, is their process of dying. And the reason that that's happening is because the tree is releasing the leaves so that it can survive the winter. Because in the winter, it doesn't have the access to as much sun and can't produce the same amount of energy in order to keep the leaves alive and stay alive at the same time. And so it's very symbolic. And I really think that why we get so maybe so much more anxiety. Some people, when the season changes from the lighter months to the darker months, is because in the lighter months, we have all this energy to, it's just this like vibrant energy of spring and summer. You know, there's like color everywhere and light for a long amount of time. And then that goes away and things get dark. And it can be hard for us to follow that lead and go into the process of, we can't and we shouldn't be trying to keep our leaves alive while it's fall and winter. We should be focusing on doing what nature is doing, which is slowing down and expecting less productivity and extroversion and exertion. But I think that where we really struggle is that, you know, capitalism is very real and we have to keep outputting. It's like in the same degree, it's like not being honored in the way that feels like, oh, I get to slow down now. I get to turn more inward and get reflective and not feel like I have to be so on all the time. So with knowing that and saying that, these months are incredibly transformative. I just looked at that card. Yeah, the transformation here, because it's quiet in the dark, it's some place that you learn how to, get in touch with those parts of yourself that are overshadowed by all the loud, abundant energy that's happening in the light months. So wherever you can in your life, I would say try to find a way to give yourself a break, not be expecting summertime productivity and energy in fall and winter months. Allow yourself to stop pushing, forcing, rushing, and just take that extra time and intention to take a break, slow down, rest, and go and do what nature is already so naturally doing, because it has to. And if you use the fall and winter months that way, it really helps you kind of burst forth in the spring and summer, because you've taken the time to recharge and get closer to yourself. I hope that makes sense. And also to touch on the more intense days that are coming up this week and into next week, actually. Well, right now, we have a Mercury retrograde happening. Mercury is retrograde in Sagittarius. For example, in my life of what Mercury retrograde can be like, that isn't super scary. And I wanted to point this out because I'm trying to come at this energy reading about the astrology in a way that is less like, oh, something huge and scary is going to happen, you know, and you get really like paranoid, but then you get addicted to the videos and the people who talk about astrology in a way that is like, oh God, what's going to happen next? It's like fear baiting, I guess is what you could call it. There's an addiction to looking at things and listening to things that make us not feel good. So here's an easy example of like something that happened to me. And this actually happened when Jupiter went retrograde on 11/11. And so Mercury is retrograde in Sagittarius right now. Jupiter is Sagittarius's ruler. And this was kind of like the perfect example of what happens when these two planets the energies can try and push you forward in a certain way. I woke up that morning, I was on my phone, and my apps stopped loading. And I've never experienced that before. My apps just like wouldn't load anymore. And I'm like, what's going on? I restarted my phone, I checked my Wi-Fi and did all those things. And I saw that my storage on my phone was like at its limit. And I guess that can cause the apps to stop loading. I've never, I guess, had my storage be that like full before, which is very symbolic of letting the leaves fall off of us, okay? Looking at your phone storage even and taking that time to release this old stuck energy. So I went through into my settings to see, like, you know how they can give you the list of all the apps that are taking up the most space in your phone. Well, I looked, and my number one was my iMessages. And the biggest iMessage that was taking up the most space in my phone, and our phones are an extension of ourselves, okay, was my text thread that I had saved and not gotten rid of from my previous partner that was 3 years ago. And I don't know why I was saving it. You know, I wasn't like going back and looking through it or anything. I wasn't reminiscing or, you know, anything like that. It was a healthy, clean breakup, and we've both went our separate ways. But there was part of me that was still holding on to this energy. So Mercury and Jupiter coming together for a retrograde brought me an opportunity, because Jupiter wants you to expand. Jupiter is going to show you where you're constricted, like when a plant, you have to repot it because it wants to grow, but the pot is too small for it to start expanding its roots out and keep going through the growing process. So Jupiter going retrograde is going to say, look at all these places that are constricting you and are too tight now, and where you have to make space so that you can continue to grow. And I just thought, wow, that's the perfect example of what seemed like a roadblock, you know, which was frustrating. Like, I want to get my apps to work, obviously, and that's why Mercury retrograde can feel so frustrating, is because it does impact things like your phone and travel plans and all that kind of stuff that just you want to have go smoothly. But it was like this really cool opportunity that came up where I thought, oh, it's time for me to let this go, let this energy go. And so I deleted it. And it was just this like spacious moment that I thanked the universe for, because I knew that my soul was then ready to remove that energy and then make space for whatever was coming next. And I wanted to give that example just as it can be as simple and easy as that. It doesn't have to be catastrophic. And so just when these cycles happen, it's always nice to look at when it's happening and then maybe take note of like, what happened during Mercury retrograde cycle for me? What happened during the Scorpio new moon that's coming up next week? And making notes about those things so that you can kind of understand how astrology is working for you personally in your chart, and not be so, a lot of the astrology forecasts do have to do with like collective energy, which may or may not be really personally impacting you. And so with that, I do want to mention that on the 19th and 20th next week, those are going to be what I would consider more intense energy days, because on the 19th, right now Mercury is retrograding in Sagittarius, so like all the Sagittarius themes are happening, but Mercury is going to retrograde back into Scorpio on the 19th and oppose Uranus on the same day. Uranus just went into Taurus as well, so this is possibly going to be a revelation of maybe some secrets that's like very Scorpio and Mercury or, Mercury in Scorpio is very like, can be secretive. You might feel like you want to share some truth that you haven't been fully ready for sharing, or maybe you've kept hidden because you weren't ready. But opposing Uranus just means that it could be a jolt, it could be surprising, it could be awakening. So just know that on the 19th, there's a potential for a very intense sort of wake up moment. And then on the 20th, we have the new moon in Scorpio. And so after those 2 dates, then we go into Sagittarius season. So just to make a note that those things are coming up. And I don't like to be, I just think right now it's like, pay attention to what's happening in your life, but don't be afraid. Like, don't be worried that every transit's going to bring you something bad and scary. Because in my experience, at least, you go through so many different transformations in your life, and the potential for certain days to be more intense, like, and intensity doesn't always mean bad intensity. Sometimes it just means like, oh, I have a lot of energy today and I don't know where to put it. I need to go like lift weights, and it can just like manifest in the body. Which, by the way, I did want to say that, okay, so I know a lot of you know that I'm currently grieving my soul dog who died in June. And I have still, like, since she died in June, every week gone to the gym and lifted weights and been running, a couple of times a week. And all of a sudden, and this happened when Jupiter went retrograde, this was on 11/11, I just had this this sudden realization that I needed to do yoga. Actually, it happened the day before Jupiter went retrograde. But it was just this, like, because I used to practice yoga all the time. And so I said, okay, I'll do yoga. I just did a 20-minute practice on Monday, that day, 11/10, and then a 20-minute practice on the next day. And I noticed on both of those days, later on in the day, I had really intense, vivid memories surface of the day that I had to put my dog down. That was very traumatic. And it just came up, and all of a sudden I just got flooded with tears, and I cried so, so, so hard. And then it was like, it was this huge release. And I know that it was tied to doing yoga, because I was thinking to myself, well, I've been lifting weights and I've been still kind of doing those like embodied movement things. But the difference between going and lifting weights and running is it can be very like adrenaline, endorphin, fast-paced, where you feel that pump, you feel good. But yoga slows you down and gets into those places in your body that you're trapping trauma. Like, it's like the mind can't handle it at that time. Like, I couldn't at that time handle watching what I was watching happen, to have to put my dog down. So my mind put that energy into my body and just kept it there. And when you go through these poses and you kind of have to start facing, like, your body knows what it's doing. It's a somatic experience. Trauma and going through really intense experiences like that get stuck, and they can become diseases if we aren't intentionally trying to work through the energy and heal the body as well as the mind. The mind can only do so much. So I'm saying that because maybe right now yoga could be a practice that can help you get into that quieter space with the darker months coming up. It's just really worth it, I think, to find whatever ways you can to slow the energy right now is so like zzz. And I think a lot of it has to do with the Uranus oppositions that we've been having. We had one in Mars with Scorpio, like we had another one with Mercury and Scorpio, and our systems are just jolted right now. So any kinds of practices that you can find to do to ground yourself, make those a priority, and know that you won't always be ready for something. Like, I think that it's like we all know yoga is helpful. We all know meditation is helpful. We all know journaling is helpful. But to get ourselves from where we're at to be ready for those practices, that's a place you have to be really gentle with and allowing of, because trying to move into a space that you're not ready for, that's just another form of forcing. Even if it's good for you, that doesn't mean that it's right for you right now. So just to say that for what it's worth, if that resonated for you, I surely hope it did. And just a quick quote to end from Edward Abbey. It says, "You can't study the darkness by flooding it with light." And I think there's something to be said for slowing down with the darkness, being with it, being with the darker days, being with the darker parts of who we are, and, you know, those emotions that get so buried because our society is so fixated on being positive, happy, joyful, and light all the time. But you have to have those other feelings. You have to give those feelings space to come through. Like, yeah, being flooded with memories of a traumatic experience aren't pleasant, but the release was what I needed. And it was so powerful and profound that if I just keep that energy trapped in me, then where does it go? It's going to start impacting everything about my experience. So it's not always easy to feel into those places, but if you feel ready, I would say right now is definitely the time to start looking into ways to support yourself. And it's probably ways that you've already thought about. I should be doing this, or I need to be doing that. You know, how you have that inner voice that kind of is always guiding you to reignite, discover. Like we're in retrograde, words, rediscover, reevaluate, look through all of those parts of, you know, maybe where you've been denying yourself the permission to go into your body and go into your, the places where you're being asked to look that you don't always want to look. I'm pulling a card. Wisdom of the Oracle. To end. The Fates. Card number 17. Oh, all this holiday season stuff coming up has been really hard for me with it being the first season without having my dog. I do have another dog, and she's my best friend too. It's just a different kind of experience. You know, we connect with different souls in different ways, and but I'm so grateful for my dog that's currently here with me, kind of getting me through this grief in the way that she can. And yeah, if the holidays are hard for you, I get it. I'm right there with you. And I think that this year particularly seems like it might just be a year that is a bit harder for everyone. But let's see what this card wants to tell us. Okay, fate, karma, acceptance that there are things you cannot change, and knowing what those things are. The Serenity Prayer sums up the meaning of this card. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There are things in life you will never have control over. The conditions brought on by the evolution of the collective, by nature, and by your past experiences may be fated, preordained by spirit for a greater purpose you cannot understand in this lifetime. It may not be in your cards to understand why certain events occurred, but you can accept the mystery and work with what those events and your current circumstances have to teach you. That is the wisdom contained in the Serenity Prayer. We used to say that prayer all the time. I used to go to Al-Anon meetings, which are meetings for people with alcoholic, like friends or family members or partners. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. The quote is in my description box. It's a really short one today, as well as a link to book a healing session with me is what I'm calling them now. I think energy reading just felt too clinical and like not at all what I feel like I'm providing or how I want to have the energy kind of come across with the readings that I've been doing anyways. But there's a link for that in my description box. And I also do written intuitive messages that are delivered to you via email. So please check that out if that sounds interesting to you. I would love to work with you, especially as we're heading into these darker months that I feel so, they're my favorite. So I would love to guide you in these months. And I will see you guys next week on Thursday.